Let's take a look at jazz musician Dr Nduduzo Makhathini and the Joburg Theatre. They're presenting Spotlight Jozi. Amathambo, a musical journey exploring the concept of divination, presented as improvisation, which is linked to the act of throwing the bones, or ukwebhula. The practice gives a broader understanding of Nguni prophetic traditions. He will be joined by Mbuso Khoza on the 9th and 10th of this month at the Lesedi auditorium at Joburg Theatre. Dr. Makhathini, thank you very much for your patience with us this morning. When we speak about ukwebhula, mhlambe wena umuphawula ngokubhula amathambo womoya, what would you say is the space we are in 2023 as a people?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that come to mind. But I think I want to also just highlight that there's a huge insurgence coming at least after 2010 in as far as the artist space is concerned, where people were really considering indaba yobungoma and these practices that are kind of pre-colonial and the ways in which they enunciate through the sounds that we create. So at that point, it started to become a thing that people could relate to, whether through lineage or whether through initiation or just as a way of socialization. And I think we see it more and more with a lot of artists in South Africa, always just speaking about this idea of ubungoma. And so, of course, this is a lens that our foremothers and forefathers had cultivated for us that allows us to tap into the future. And while this is happening, there's a lot of other young people that have kind of lost hope in many senses. This idea, almost like a pessimist idea, that it's the end of the world. So I think ubungoma then comes in with this notion of ukwebhula as a way of divining a kind of eternal future, that we live as immortal beings that are here before and after. So it's a way of invoking our worldviews, our cosmology, and remembering the ways in which our foremothers and forefathers thought about being in the world.
What is ubungoma?
Ubungoma is many things. So if you look at the word, ubu means this process of becoming. Ngoma basically means song, but it also means divination, it means healing. So there is a way in which this is a healing practice that really builds from this idea of umuntu and this idea of being. And what does it mean to be connected with a worldview that Babu Ramose would call an ontotridec, meaning while we're here, we're connected to our ancestors that are deemed to be in the past, but also through these modalities, we are able to tap into the ones to come, which is the future. So it's really, ubungoma is a view to being that operates from three dimensions, the here, the after, and the now.
I'd like for us maybe to take a look at the now, because when you speak of those who were and those who are to come, what of those who are here? What is the diagnosis of what is happening about those who are here? Emoyeni moso.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think just like, universally, we sense this period to be a period of some kind of out of tuneness. And this out of tuneness is stepping outside of the umuntu or the ubuntu philopraxis. And these, by the way, are not limited to Bantu people, but these are relational concepts that are very much linked on universal concepts of being in the world. So the current moment presents us with a lot of confusion, presents us with this out of tuneness. And this is why then we do these concerts no longer as performances, but as some kind of rituals, as a technology of bringing us to some kind of in-tuneness, whether it lasts for 2 hours. And we hope that when we play these notes, they have a way of echoing into the future or into the following day and remind us of this idea of being as a way of tuning in with surrounding, a way of tuning in with other humans, nature, concepts of time and space. So really that's the broader view to the moment now.
When we speak about the dates, the time, the damage, what do people need to know?
There is no damage, but there is an offering. Emsamo, mawuzile emsebenzini uyanikela lapha emsamo. I'm just trying to step out of this vocabulary as well in many ways. So the concerts will be on the 9th and 10th. On the 9th, we will start at 7 p.m. At the Joburg Theatre, Lesedi Theatre. And then on the 10th, which is a Sunday, we'll start very early, around 3. And I know a lot of people that follow this art form think of it in the context of Ingoma Busuku. But this time it will be during the day, at least for the 10th. And we're excited to really explore this with an activist and cultural worker, Mbuso Khoza, who's doing amazing work in terms of like producing a lexicon for how people would understand ways of being in the world.
What does that mean?
So a lexicon is a language that helps us to kind of link to our worldviews. So in a sense of what Makhathini is doing, he's drawing from Amahubo, which are like ancient hymns that were created mostly by the Zulu nation. And so we believe that these songs in themselves carry properties of healing, properties of history, and all of these things. So the ways in which these songs are invoked in the current moment are such that they remind us of this kind of time and place, and maybe producing options for dealing with this difficulty of modernity. So then we produce an alternative language that kind of proposes a different direction. Some people would think of this in the register of decoloniality, but that's another terminology that I'm trying to step away from.